Welcome to Returning to Clarity with Raelin Saindon, channel and mindset mentor, and myself, Laura Mazzotta, the Akashic Therapist. Welcome to Emerge Healing and Wellness. If you have not been here before, my name, again, is Laura Mazzotta, and I help therapists, healers, and coaches who are experiencing any kind of chronic dis-ease. And that can be negativity, pain, illness, anxiety, depression. And I help them move to a space of ease, energy, and confidence in the space of the Akashic Records. Raelin, would you like to share a little bit about yourself, my friend?
Oh my gosh, right. Oh, sorry. Right now I'm focusing on sharing
this out
in my group. Yes. Okay. So I'm super excited to be here, you guys. So yes, as Laura so graciously shared at the top of our intro, I am a channel of We Are We Consciousness and a healing guide, certified in Reiki as a master teacher. I am certified as a Ho'oponopono practitioner, emotion code practitioner, and several other modalities, certified as a hypnotist as well. And I lead people on the journey of discovering their own healer within by connecting them and empowering them through that process. So I take this as a high honor. It's sacred ground. I believe that we walk as healing guides. And I just am at my best and my optimal when I am serving others in that capacity. So it's an honor to be here. And I'm super excited, you guys. We haven't had our show for, it feels like decades now.
Yeah, just because you were getting surgery and Raelin, you have the show playing in the background. I can hear
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Turning it down, friends. Sorry.
You want everybody to watch it twice? That's fine. But listen.
Oh, hectic. Hectic.
So guys, today we are going to talk about the ups and the downs and the natural contrasts of being a human, right? Being human, which incorporates physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, interpersonal, behavioral, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about how that can be a little messy sometimes, and that can be a little bit difficult to navigate. And sharing our own experiences with it, also pulling from your experiences where you've experienced some of those human contrasts and how it might be difficult for you to find some ease and flow with it, okay? Mm-hmm. So if there's anybody out there that you feel this conversation could benefit, we do ask that you share it out so that this information can get to as many people as possible, because we want to encourage those people who are feeling confused or lost or lonely or dense in some way energetically to, have some information and a source of light and assistance.
Please, okay? Yes.
So Raelin, do you want to share a little bit about this concept and how it's been presenting in your own life lately?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. So, you and I, we have conversations on the daily in this area. So for me, what I share with, what we share with each other, what I share with clients, what you share with clients, is the concept of embracing life at its fullest in all of the experiences and labeling of them that we as human beings can get involved in. When I say, I love the word contrast more than the label or the moniker of negative.
Yeah.
Because when we label stuff, we begin to develop beliefs and attachments. We weave a story like a spider. Like I think of Charlotte's Web when I think of labels, because, spiders weave their web around what gets caught in the greater web, right? And they build a protective cocoon around it. And that's what our thoughts and our beliefs and then our attitudes and our behaviors do when we label experiences, when we label life, when we label each other, when we label ourselves. So you and I, we both are great students of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is a simple way of saying words matter.
Yeah.
Words make a difference, and words spark a reaction in our mind and builds a symbol in our subconscious that then informs our behavior and our outward actions.
Yes.
And so, you know, I think of the yin and yang symbol, right? There is a pinpoint of darkness within the light, and then there's a pinpoint of light within the darkness. And those are contrasting images.
Mm.
So both exist within each other. So when I speak of contrasting experiences, we can have a situation like, for example, for me, for right now, I willingly and thankfully went through a major surgery. I won't be shy about it. I had a breast reduction for a lot of reasons, some of which include trauma from my childhood that is very much attached to this area of my body. And it brings up a lot of noticing, and it has brought up a lot of those contrasting events and memories for me through this process. Right now, for the last 5 weeks, I've been really pretty much MIA because of that, because it's a major surgery. It takes a lot out of you. I have, you know, some range of movement with my arms, but we don't have an awareness of what our arms, our shoulders, our back, our neck, and our chest do for us until something has impacted that. And so that's what this has been for me. And I've really been attending to my physical healing, but also some of it has been bringing up mental and emotional healing still in greater areas. So when we talk about contrasting experiences, woven within them are areas that are highly beneficial, very life affirming, very positive, if you want to put that label on it, and beautiful and meaningful. We might not have yet discovered them at the time of the event of that contrasting experience, but when we look back, and as I look back to what has been brought forward through this surgery, but also to those events from my childhood, I can see those beautiful threads that have been woven through those contrasting experiences. Call it trauma, call it whatever you want to.
Right.
But they have shaped me into the being of awareness and consciousness and intentionality that I am now. And I would not trade any of it for a second. So that's what Laura and I wanted to discuss today is how do we get to that point where we embrace all of life and love it?
Yeah. And for me, it was physical illness. So, I mean, it was obviously physically based as well. And once things get to that physical level, they have already traveled through our emotional and energetic bodies. So Raelin's talking about, you know, getting surgery, getting something removed, getting something shifted, right? That's energy moving and shifting. And so when that energy moves and shifts, you're obviously going to have other energetic responses to that, which is emotional, you know, releasing some emotions or feeling that shift and change, which is a good thing, you know? And for me, I did go from really resenting and being angry at my physical body when I got very sick to then being angry at the medical community to then, you know, and I had to kind of go through those contrasts in order to find my balance and my point now where I am fully appreciative of everything I've been through. In fact, I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful that this occurred in my life because what we don't usually think of is how amazing we can be, you know, like about it. And I would just think about it in terms of my physical body. So it's like, well, once I've healed to a certain point and I feel something specific in my physical body, then I will be healed, right? We're so used to that kind of, I guess, description or guideline being given to us. But physical body, schmizical body.
Yeah.
I look great. I like to look bigger picture. I look bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
I see that just overall, holistically, I am like leagues better than I have ever been. I mean, just as a whole, I'm more confident, I'm happier, I'm more energetic, even though my physical body might not be at full level of healing yet.
And don't you think that that's what the contrasting experience is? Once we invite that awareness in and allow it to come, to walk through the door and show it what it's always been showing us, that it gets us to that point of gratitude, and it gets us to the point of where once we're not in a combative, resistant kind of position to what's happening for us in our life, because everything is for us. I'm just going to tell you, every one of you, and I'm preaching it to myself again and reminding myself, everything is happening for us in every moment, regardless of our labels. But once we invite that awareness in, then we go, okay, so what is in this that is not for me, for my ultimate, my highest, my best? And once we grasp that concept and we look at it from that perspective, dude, we're shown so much more about ourselves than the tiny little box or, parameter that we have believed ourselves to exist in. So a lot of this, right, is attaching to mindsets and attaching to concepts of limitation and smallness, and identifying as the mind or the thoughts that roll around in the mind. And we're none of those.
Correct. And being able to separate from them and being very selective and conscious about what we choose, that we can choose our thoughts, we can choose our words, describing NLP earlier, that can create our reality or what it is that we want. I do believe that words have energy. I believe that letters have energy, and that when I'm really mindful about something, or I want to call something into my reality, I will, even as a mantra, be watching the words kind of play in my mind as I'm saying them and try to really slow down. Yeah, because as you're looking at them, you're giving them energy and they carry their own energy. You're really feeling into that, determining whether that's for you or not. It's amazing how much my vocabulary has shifted over the years, except cursing. I still enjoy cursing.
Well, yeah.
But I actually curse less than I used to, if that's even believable. But I just find that there's certain things that naturally come to my mind or come up in conversation that as I'm saying them, or even before they come out of my mouth, I'm like, that just doesn't feel right. Like that feels icky. No. But it's really an energetic resistance to that. But resistance. We were talking about that earlier. And that's what I have found is that, and this was actually encouraged, this shift was encouraged by you as well, which is that when I am not feeling well, when I am in one of those cycles that might not feel ideal for me, it's not about because even if I use affirmations like crazy, I'm still using affirmations with this desperate energy, intent to end what I'm currently feeling. So instead, it's like, I'm just coming to an acceptance and appreciation. This is where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting back and I'm chilling in this, trusting that this is a necessary step on my path. And if I can really show gratitude for that moment, resistance to it, it will not grow.
Yes.
And dissipate much quicker.
Yes, because here's the thing that I was so entrenched in for decades: rumination, which you and we know and understand that psychological concept. It's that rolling things over. I think of the symbol that comes to my mind when I hear the word rumination is a cesspool, a whirlpool, and we get stuck in that. and we just churn and we churn and we churn and we churn. And we roll over the event over and over and over again. And I used to be so paralyzed in that any interaction with an individual, I would go over the conversation and the whole thing over and over, obsessively, I guess believing that if I went over it and over it and over it, I could affect the outcome of that or affect change. And we never get anywhere because we're covering the same ground and we're drilling it down, and it's like a tornado, a vortex that we just get stuck in.
Yeah.
So coming out of that is where life begins. Freedom begins.
Well, and the core you begins and gets tapped into, because that's what I've started to notice, that I'm so proud of myself. I'm becoming such a big girl that now, like when my mind starts to go like that, because it's you could say it's natural. I would say it's habitual, you know, because we can unlearn that very easily.
We can. Yes.
So that starts to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me now is no longer a, oh my gosh, I have to do something and figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, my thought is, oh, wow, I really need to go into meditation, or I need to go into Akashic records, or I need to chant, or, you know, whatever it is, because clearly shifting out of alignment, because I'm getting very stuck in my head. I'm getting very stuck in my mind. And you know what's really exciting?
What?
Is that, my coach this morning actually gave me some feedback that was beautiful. Because one of the things is, you know, I get like super excited, right? And then I have these ups and downs with my health cycles. And so for me, I said, I really see a correlation between like my ups and downs and my level of like, oh, I'm so pumped about this, or I'm freaking out about this, right?
Yes.
So her really showing me that that excitement is the same thing, even though it's quote unquote positive, it still has a similar energy. So when I see excitement, instead of being like, oh, I get to go do this and this and this and create and all that. And I think that that's something that's building momentum and it's helping me forward, and it feels good. Just because it feels good, I'm still out of alignment. Like, so it's still a cue for me to tune into via the records or via meditation, because, and it's not squashing the energy, it's just reconnecting with my core.
Yeah. Coming from a grounded, centered space rather than a frenetic, you know, buzzing. Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Because it's true, because you don't want to come from a frenetic or a desperate energy.
Right. Well, and we've talked about this before. And again, going to the power of language, the symbology of labeling, I think this is where it's the key. And it really has been the foundation for me in affecting change in this area is, you know, we have moments of where we want to label something. I'm feeling anxious. You and I, we have talked before about bringing that awareness forward, that in our body only knows physical sensations. What emotions are energy in motion. And as they move through our body, they prompt and bring up physical sensations. We feel goosebumps. We feel the hairs rise on the back of our neck. We feel things in our gut. Our heart quickens. We sweat, or we get cold, you know, etc. We apply meaning to these physical sensations. So noticing the thought that comes into your mind, oh, this is creating anxiety in me. Bring that awareness into it. Tune into your body. And I'll tell you, this is key, people, because so many of us, especially through some of the contrasting experiences we've had, we have, as a defense mechanism, and it's all natural, have unhooked from our body. So building that body awareness of our sensations that go on physically that happen here, tuning into that, and we can then say to our body out loud is powerful. We can calm our breath and we can say, I'm just excited.
Yes.
This is a thrilling thought to me, or this is an amazing event that's unfolding for me. And when we do that, then we can calm ourselves down, again, through breathing and intentionality and intentional ways of speaking about what's happening.
Right. So
Right?
I've learned this enormously with my leg pain because I have neuropathy, and one of the my legs just throb. And what I find is that when I say, "Oh, my legs really hurt,"
yeah,
versus,
right,
"Oh, you know what? I'm going to go lay down and offer some breath and some energy and some soothing because this area of my body is calling to me."
Need some attention.
It's very, very different. And that's a shift that I've really seen make a huge difference in my level of pain. You know, because I will then, like you said, intentionally send my breath there, bring in white light, call on the angels, my higher power, whatever it is. But, you know, just allow it to be, just as if my child came up to me and said, "My belly is hungry, I need food."
Yeah.
And I would offer that to him or her.
Yes.
I'm doing that with my body. My body is saying, "Hey, I need a little rest and a little see," and so I offer it, you know, and I find that it's much more productive in moving forward in that way.
Much more productive, and the moment then releases
100% every time
without fail.
Because I haven't grabbed onto, I'm in pain.
That's the key. So this is where transformation can happen for us in a powerful way, is allowing the moment to be noticed and observed, recognizing I'm not that moment. I am not the moment. I'm not even what I'm feeling. I'm not even my thoughts about it. I am the observer of it. And then understanding, okay, for example, I'll tell you, so with my surgery, day 2 to 3, I had to go into the doctor unplanned. They thought it was an emergency situation. Things were a dark color and they were worried about it. So there was a big, I guess, a pool of swelling and stuff that inside liquids, you know, body fluids that needed to be released. So the doctor, through one of the sutures, no numbing medicine, had to take his one of his instruments, open it up a bit while his PA was basically pushing, squeezing, think of like pimple stuff here, squeezing my breast to release what was in there, what needed to be excised out, what needed to be released. Holy Mother of, right?
Yeah.
The level, I told my mom afterwards I'd have kids daily, moment by moment, the rest of my life compared to what I was feeling. So I could feel myself getting caught up in that whirlwind of it.
Yeah.
And I was brought back to, there was a moment when I was having my first daughter, when I was giving birth, and we were laughing and joking, and a contraction just hit me in the face, took my breath away, and I started feeling this wave, literally like this wave just drowning me in the moment. So I could feel myself going to that point. So I sat there and I had this mental awareness of being the observer up here, looking at myself and watching and going, you are not this moment. You are more powerful than this moment. We're simply accepting and and welcoming in this experience because we know that this is for our health, this is for our best, this is for our highest, and this is where we are right now, what we're called to go through and experience. And I mean, I'm crying.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm still feeling it, but I continue this talk track in my head. And it got to the point where I would say to myself, okay, that moment is gone. That moment is gone.
Yeah.
That moment's gone. That moment's gone. And I knew that each moment that passed, the event was more and more removed from me.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me through it. And I'm here to talk about it. And it was an amazing gift to me of the power of what I could endure moment by moment when I initially believed that there's no way in hell I could ever get through this. This is never going to freaking end and I'm going to die.
Well, and I think that's the thing though. And I think that's the important part about contrast, which is it's not like you have been fully centered and aligned and fabulous the entire time through this surgery and recovery, because you haven't been. You've gone up and down, but you've been able to find some balance with it. Like one of the things that you did was recite the Ho'oponopono prayer to your physical body.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again.
Over
right?
and over. Still do. Yeah.
Yep.
And I know you do as well. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even in that moment too, that was going on too.
Yeah.
But the biggest locus of hope and focus for me was the understanding and the embracing of the fact that I was not the moment. The moment wasn't me. So then I wasn't getting lost in it and feeling hopeless and helpless in it, drowning, like I was dying.
And a little bit of victim mentality.
100%.
Yeah, because we can easily go to that. Hi, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry.
Go to that where it's like, oh, poor me. I don't feel all right now, or and again, you could say that's natural or habitual. I think it's habitual. That we go into that victim mentality because it's what we're used to. And then now what's so great is it's taken me some time to work on this and to get to this point. But now when that stuff comes up, I'm like, I don't have to choose that. That doesn't make me feel good. So I'm not going to choose that, and then I just choose differently. And it truly is that simple. And it's so funny because my mentors used to say that to me all the time. Like when I was early on in this process, it is that simple. You can just choose. And I was like, what do you know? You haven't been through exactly what I've been through.
Right.
I still kept with the process, and I would feel my little bit of like my little tantrum that I was having because of that. Yeah. And then I just kept plugging away and doing it. And some days I would feel like I would believe in it and really feel it. Some days I'd be like, okay, just doing it, and not really feeling it. And I always tell my clients, don't wait until you feel it to start doing it, because then you'll never do it.
I love that.
Yeah. And so sometimes, I would not be fully invested, but what I can say now is be patient with yourself, because I promise you now I'm at the point where I'm like, it really is that simple.
It really is. I
truly feel that it's not just that we create new habits, but that energetically we shift.
Yes.
Energetically, I am at a higher vibration than I was a couple of years ago. It's easier for me to just make a different choice and implement it.
100%, because, and we say this a lot, and I say this all the time, our energy flows where our attention goes.
Right.
That's what we mean by choosing. Do we understand that there are certain realities? Yes. Do I understand that the reality is I just went through a big surgery? Do you understand the reality is you live with a chronic illness right now? And that's your reality. Yes. Okay. We get the reality of situations. However, the locus of control that we have is much more than what we give ourselves credit for, and than what we sometimes are willing to accept. You talked about Ho'oponopono earlier. That art of reconciliation, the cleaning and clearing that goes on within the premise of it is that we are 100% at cause in our life.
Yeah.
So without getting too far out there, that's another show we could talk about, is choosing life experiences, right? But with that understanding comes the knowledge and the awareness and the acknowledgement and the embracing of, I am responsible for how I choose to think, believe, respond, and feel about the moment that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're talking about the responsibility lies. Like you said earlier, victim mentality versus I can choose a different thought. I can choose a different experience of this, a different labeling of it, a different category of it, a different energetic vibration of it, a different perspective. It's a perspective of a higher viewpoint, or am I going to look downward and up toward it and be stuck in, fear and all of those lower, denser kind of vibration and mental processes that keep us limited and stuck. This morning in my group, I had asked, well, it's from yesterday. It was, I love to do the turnarounds, the judge yourself and do a turnaround. And so one of the gals in the group, she had mentioned that she's very out of control of her body. Most times she's pregnant. And so when she has the Braxton Hicks, she's out of control of her body and she gets anxious and she can't see her way out of that, et cetera. And so, started kind of walking her toward that and showed her where she literally is in control of her body, even in those moments of Braxton Hicks. And then it became, the mind shifted away from, okay, I'm no longer saying I'm out of control of my body. I can't control my body because you just showed me that I could. So now the real problem is that I stopped talking in that moment and I have to talk for a living. Mm-hmm. So the mind quickly then, if we're in that habitual pattern, will shift from one. If we've proved to it that doesn't apply, it'll shift to another one. And she shifted to that. So then we talked about that and she said, well, she understandably got to a point where, okay, that became too much information for her to process at that time.
Yeah.
And that's what happens through these challenges, through the questioning.
Yeah. Right? And it's funny because that's really in line with Pamela's question, which is how do you emotionally deal with people who are stuck in the victim thought?
Yeah.
Some of them are not energetically available to be able to integrate whatever it is we think they need to integrate to move forward. So when it comes to victim mentality, the best thing that you can do is to understand the purpose that it's serving on your journey to come into your awareness, either that for that person or the situation they're going through, how it might even be playing a part on their journey. Trust that it does, and stay in alignment for yourself, continuing to operate in a way that makes you feel at peace, that makes you feel really aligned with the core values of who you are, because you need to trust is that you embodying that and presenting that to them is already shifting and changing things for them. Reciting the Ho'oponopono prayer on their path towards them, towards their victim mentality, as a clearing that is going to be effective to help them move through that in a way that provides more ease and flow for them, rather than, oh, I'm in a victim mentality and now they're pissing me off because they're not listening to me or they're not moving forward. But it's not for you to say, you know that they're not supposed to, quote unquote, suffer through that. You know, they're not supposed to endure that, and that's part of the lesson they're going through on their journey. You know, it bothers us to see it because we've been there and we have come so far from it. And so we want to save them. But when we want to save them from it, that's more about us and healing our own stuff than it is them. So I would say, what is it about seeing this victim mentality in this person that makes you uncomfortable, that is reflecting back to you where maybe holding a victim mentality in some area of your life, you know, or something that you did in the past and you haven't forgiven yourself for, which is why using the Ho'oponopono prayer is so productive, because it's going to address the energy of the situation. So it'll go where it's supposed to. It's going to go either to you or to the other person or to the energy between.
100%. And I love that this is coming up because, you know, the question of how do I help or what do I say when others is never a question of others. It's always a question of ourselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, the other thing about that too is that if we think of it this way, did anybody save me from my experiences, my contrasts that showed up in my life and continue to show up in my life? No, hell no. Let's share the prayer and the cool things. Nobody saved me from that. So, and nor was it their responsibility to, nor their place to. So it brings me into a level of responsibility of understanding that it's not my place to save them from anything.
Correct.
We don't save anybody else at all. We simply, maybe we're mirroring something back to them. We are an example. We model something for them, or we're part of their process of contrasting experience just as much as they're a part of our process of contrast experience. And we're interwoven for each other to learn from. Iron sharpens iron, right? So the notion that we can or we should or we need to interfere, which is really what that is. It's not saving. We label it as saving because it makes it sound so spiritual and amazing. I just am so well-intentioned. No, you're not. We're being Badinskis. We're sticking our, you know, our beak into someone else's shit that they need to handle. Because we're uncomfortable. Because, like you said, something's being reflected back to us. Maybe it's showing a level of where we still need some healing. That's where Ho'oponopono calls us into 100% responsible for any and everything that comes into our awareness at all times.
Exactly. And really wanting to save someone else is truly wanting to save yourself.
Amen.
It's a part of you that you still want to be saved. You know, or have like resentment or upset about the fact that you weren't.
Right.
You know, and so it's really look in the mirror.
Right. And and see where is it that we are creating our own suffering, because we do.
I know.
If we can get to the point, and it's a practice. This is not a perfection.
Right.
But as we continue to develop this and we get to the point where we love what is, Byron Katie, loving what is, right? Eckhart Tolle, right? His teaching about embracing the now. They're all of these teachers, and this wisdom is out there for a reason, because it's wisdom. It is a universal truth. And if we can embrace the way things are, people for who they are, naturally see who they are, naturally see who we are, and embrace what's happening in this moment, we affect change. So my healing, I was thinking this morning, I took a shower by myself for the first time in 5 weeks, you guys. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, when did that moment begin where where my pain meds were reduced? Now I'm at the point, almost at the point where it's just Tylenol and ibuprofen, and that's it, which is amazing. And where did it begin that I could get to the point where I could begin to do some of these things for myself and not need the help of my husband or someone else or whatever? And I can't say that it was pinpointed in any one particular moment, but it was a series of moments building up and building up and building up and building that foundation that brought me high enough to that level where now the shift has happened.
Right.
That's how this process happens for each of us too. Right? You can't recall the day when you're thinking just immediately.
No, in fact, I was just talking to somebody else about that this morning, about like, you know, how I've made a list of all of the things that I have used and tried from the beginning of my healing journey until now. And I had to ease into it. And one of the reasons I made that list was for the benefit of my clients who are, I don't know where to start, or this doesn't feel right for me, or this is too woo-woo or whatever. And so being able to say, like, there's so many ways you can ease in, and it all builds on top of one another, you know, to get you to this point. So I think that it's really important to start with kind of what you feel comfortable with, or like was affirmations and gratitude, you know, and then meditation. And so being able to say, like, this is a process. And, you know, for me, my family always makes fun of me because I've always been one of those people who's like, oh, I start a project, I want it to be done within an hour, and I want to be perfect at it. You know what I mean?
Why is that funny? How is that wrong?
Oh, you know, and it's patience. That's what I'm saying. It's like that excited energy that also reminds me, hey, to align, Laura.
Patience?
Yes, exactly. Because I do believe that is one of the contributors to my cycles of illness, you know, is that, and I get excited. I'm like, oh, I want to do it all perfectly. I want to do it now. You know, I get excited, and it's just like, ease up there, tiger, like, slow down, you know, and realize that to be patient with myself. And part of that is trusting that what is best for me is coming. I don't need to rush for it and race ahead and have it all perfect and fabulous and amazing now. Because that's showing me that I'm not having faith in the fact that it's coming when it's supposed to come.
Yeah, it brings to mind, you know, horse jockeys don't run their horses full tilt at the beginning of the race.
Yeah.
And when the horses are behind the gate, ready to start, before the gate, you know, busts open, the horses are, you know, and trying to go forward. Did you like that? That sounded like a pig sound.
Could you do that again, please? That was attractive. Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't know. That sounded weird.
That's better.
This is comedy hour, guys. But anyway, so, you know, right? And the horses are chomping at the bit. That's what we mean, right? When we say that. And the visual is, but the jockey is sitting there calmly on the horse, pulling the reins back and keeping the horse pulled back, constrained. And at the divine timing, the perfect time, then those reins are let loose and that horse flies, right? And takes off and save and reserve some of that energy for the final push at the end. Well, same with us. If we are so chomping at the bit, you know, life is to be savored for the moments that come up. In order for, it's a long game, people, in order for us to get to where we have agreed to be, and in our understanding and in our experiences and our wealth and richness of everything that comes for us. You know, you and I, we met 2 years ago now, and we were in this class for soulpreneurs on how to do exactly what we're doing. And we were terrified. Right. We were like, oh shit. Our butts were puckered. And we were like, there's no way in the world we could do this. We're freaking out. I remember the first time I went live, I messaged you and I was like, I had to do it like 17 times. And I think I threw up in my mouth.
I know. And that seems like a different lifetime.
Yes. And I barely got 5 minutes out, and I thought I was, going to die of angina. Right?
Yeah.
And now we have to cap ourselves off, people, sometimes at an hour and a half, because we could just keep going. But and we still have moments where the two of us still go, gosh, but we look to other people, and then we start doing the comparison, and we start going, oh, but I'm not as far as they are. Oh, stop it. So we have to, there's the jockey. We're each other's jockey. Sometimes we're our own jockey, and we're pulling those reins back. Life happens to us. We have these physical things that come up in our life. You have, the chronic illness that shows up, but you're navigating it in a very successful, integrative way. Yep. So you're kicking ass with it. Since November, for various reasons, have had some health stuff showing up. And we just keep reminding each other that there are times of constriction, times of silence, times of hibernation, and attention on us to heal and grow and process.
I think that's why it's so hard for a lot of people, is sitting in stillness with yourself.
Say that again. Absolutely.
That's what's so hard for some people, is sitting in stillness with yourself. It's so funny because in my Facebook group, Room for Healing, I'm going to be, because I did like a story time Saturday. I don't know if you even saw that, Raelin, one day. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to continue to do this, but I already have another book that I'm going to be reading, I think, on Saturday. And I don't know if you've ever read this storybook, this picture book, but it's called Mouse Was Mad.
No.
I love it because Mouse is pissed. All right. Like, he's pissed. And then he tries to hop like the bunny to get it out, but it doesn't work because he's not a bunny. And then he tries to roll like the hedgehog, but he can't get into a perfect sphere. So he's upset about that. And then he's trying to I think stomp like the bear, but he can't shake the trees as much as the bear, But then what he does is he gets so mad by the end of it all, because he can't do any of it, and he's trying to do what all these other people are doing, that he just stands still. And it says he is standing still mad. And it's so funny because everybody else tries to do it, and they have so much trouble standing still, but it's the most effective tool for him. And I find that such a good reflection of what we deal with in these contracts of being human, which is we try all of these things that have worked for other people, or all of these things that people have told us, we should try and do. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we've got to find our own way. We've got to find our own stillness. And the only way to do that is to really sit with ourselves and get to know ourselves, because I've always been extremely self-aware. I've always been very introspective. Mm-hmm. I'm a therapist. I went through school. I've analyzed myself to the ends of the earth. But the level of knowledge and understanding I've gained about myself since sitting in stillness with myself has been just absolutely blows it away, because it's like the past handful of years have been such condensed, intense growth relative to the rest of my life. And I had grown a lot, but being able to sit with myself and facing myself in a raw way, and in a way where I took responsibility for everything that happened to me, like you said earlier, and being able to say, I take responsibility for the times that I was sexually harassed or sexually abused, take responsibility for situations like that are really painful. And trust me, that work was not easy. That work was me thinking to myself, this isn't fair. When I would start to do that work, this isn't fair. That person did such and such to me, but take responsibility for all of it. I can't even tell you how much freedom it's offered me.
100%.
Yeah.
So Kelly just said, I need to find my way. And what we would love to encourage you with is that there is no finding. Mm-hmm. You are in the way already, meaning you're not. Now, we can be in our own way sometimes. Okay. Right. That's different. That's not what I'm saying. The way is where you're at exactly in this moment, exactly at this time, with the context of your life around you as you know it, and with the context of all of the experiences. You are literally in the flow of the way now of your life. And when that awareness settles in and really, like, you can feel it click, that's the sweet spot. That's where everything has come into the alignment of it. And there's nothing else there but the moment of it and the awareness of that. And then there's no more looking and feverishly searching and trying to distract, because everything that happens out here, out away from us, I talk with my hands. I very visual learner. But so everything that happens outside of us is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Really, what's going on, what life is everything within this container. So you are already at purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You are already in your way, meaning the way that shows up for you, the agreed upon contrasting experiences that are coming for you. You're already in that energy of it. It's simply sinking into it. And meditation helps a lot with stilling and getting silent with your mind. But I understand that's why people resist it. Because what do we do with quiet? But quiet is not threatening. It's the mind believing it to be threatening and our attachment to that thought that causes the suffering of it.
And it's very illuminating, you know.
Yeah.
But the other piece, Kelly, is that it's funny because when you first hopped on and said that your mind was going, the first thing that's why I asked what was going on in your head, because my first thought was tapping for you. I was going to say, what's going on? And I'll take you through a tapping sequence, because I do feel that, especially if you have anxiety and you've been for a while in your head, you know, it can be very hard to just say, all right, flip the switch and let me go into meditation. Like for me, I could not do that.
Right.
For me, I do better in meditation when I can do something physical first. And that could be yoga. It could be light stretching. It could be chanting. I'm using my physical body to do chanting, singing. And then it can even be journaling, because I'm using my physical body to do that.
Yeah.
Then I move into that stillness, because it's like I need to take some off the top, and I need to be able to, because sometimes, like if I ask one of my clients who's really, really willing to go into meditation, it can really agitate them, you know, and make it worse. And so these other tools and techniques are very productive. I don't think that they're the end all be all, but I do think that they are a way to kind of tame the human a bit, so that we can get to that still part of us. And the other thing about, you know, needing to find your way is I think that to me tells me that you're feeling a little bit unsettled or uncomfortable with where you currently are, you know?
Yes.
So if that's the case, it's where am I uncomfortable? And most importantly, to where do I want to go and where do I want to be? Because like I'm reading the Mazzotta manuscripts, I'm doing lives on it in my priority membership group, Evolving Woman. And they talk about how you need to know where you're going before you figure out what you need to let go of. Right? Because they want our focus to be primarily on the vibration of what we want to embody, right? Where we want to put all of our time and energy and focus. And yes, sometimes we need to clear things before we get to that. But it's important to kind of know where we're going, because otherwise are we just releasing for what? I mean, it's productive, but I want it to be a little bit more targeted.
And I would say in that, don't get so grand, so big, because sometimes the where do I want to go can become even more of a stress ball or an attachment to. It's my mom always tells me, and I know that many of us, you know, have heard this. How do you eat an elephant? A bite at a time. So literally, if you just take a moment's awareness in that space of this energy that is feeling so constrictive and heavy and overwhelming for you, and if it's energy that says, I just want to be out of this moment. So, or I want to get through to the next hour, right? So simple steps. Yes, I agree with you too, Laura, on appreciating the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, along with what Laura is saying, before we clear the past, we have to look at the past and allow it to speak to us and to share with us everything that needs our notice and our attention and our intentionality first before we clear it, because it will never release itself until we have experienced and understood and accepted and embraced, which is what we're talking about, all of the totality of it and the beauty of everything there.
Right. And that's why I think it's really important that we don't just say, okay, I'm going to dredge this up to release just because. Like, you know, sometimes we don't need to release to get to where we're going. Mm-hmm. You know, I have patients who come in all the time and I'm like, listen, we don't need to sit down and analyze your childhood if you don't need to. You know, let's figure out where do you want to go and let's start getting you there. And if we find that you can't get there because, then we will go back and we will, you know what? And I don't even like the word release entirely, because I think that's sometimes relevant and sometimes it's really not about releasing the past, but integrating it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Integrating
it, embracing it, right?
Yeah, and morphing it a little bit, like transmuting really into a greater alignment of like the way that you understand yourself or the person you are trying to become. Yeah,
like you mentioned, you know, sexual abuse and all of that. You and I have that in common. And do we, you know, is it something that is like my best friend, or do I love it? Well, I have learned to love on it and allow love to transmute it in order for me to now I can talk freely about it and say it's been one of my greatest gifts in my life. But it wasn't always that, and I didn't always hold it in that space. So you take it a chunk at a time, a piece at a time, a bite at a time. And there's layers of healing, you know, the onion peels, and we can go deeper and deeper into it. So for you, if you're getting caught up in that whirlwind of looking back at the past, then let's deal with what's going on right now in the moment for you. And as you build and strengthen this developmental awareness, then some of those things can come forward gently, and you clean it and you clear it, and it moves on, right? So we're not talking about turning on the fire hydrant so this big, you know, mountain of water starts and trying to take a drink. Use a straw if you have to.
Yeah.
Take just a sip.
And I also really believe in being held in a this speaks to the safety piece that Dawn was bringing up, being held in a container or a safe space while you're doing this work. So for me, I mean, I've been to therapy off and on. I have a coach now. I've had several mentors. My husband is wonderfully supportive and present. So it's also knowing I'm going to, and you know what, honestly, it really came down to more of me finding a safe container within myself to do this work.
Yes.
While I do the work. So that's why I'm saying, focus on where you want to go. Start moving towards there. You're getting the feeling of like, okay, I'm moving forward. I'm gaining faith in myself. I'm becoming a reliable person to myself, which tells you I am safe for myself, right? You start to notice that, you're giving yourself evidence for that, and then you can bring this stuff up. So it's not just that you've laid a safe foundation for yourself, but you've also, you know, given yourself a space with other people if you need to. Like also just tangible, like creating a safe space in my home that is my space, you know, but creating some kind of space for you where you feel like you can do this work and you're not like knocked over by the fire, you know, the fire hydrant shooting in your face.
Exactly. Dawn was kind of touching on that. She says, what about those who don't like sharing very much about themselves, thinking on it could be judgment and safety concerns?
Yeah. I mean, welcome to it was so funny because I had a conversation with my daughter the other night, my 12-year-old. She's just like, she doesn't like to share that much.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, she will, she kind of gets to her breaking point, but she really doesn't like to share. And, you know, I think that, a lot of times people have concerns about that because they think, oh, somebody's going to like call CPS on me, or they're going to like send me to 911 or something like that because they think I'm losing my marbles. But keep in mind, the person that you're going to, I mean, to speak about this, like, are they people who are really fairly aligned within themselves, or are they who that scares them? And why does that scare them? There's got to be in them that they, like, for me, people come to me and tell me they're suicidal. I'm like, okay, so let's talk about it. You know, like, it doesn't faze me. And so I think that it's a reflection of their own judgment. So it's also being cautious about who you and who you share with. And you can get that kind of feedback from like your Akashic records or from spirit or from sitting in yourself as to what is the best safe container for me to open up and do this work. So I don't have to do it alone, or I don't have to do it without feeling safe.
Right. 100%. Yeah. Brene Brown brings that up definitely in saying not everybody has earned the right to hear your story. And that comes with really, honestly, just experiencing that. You know, if you go to somebody and you share, but what we would invite you to consider is notice the people in your circle, in your tribe, in your inner world, that when there are moments, big moments, they're the ones that keep it together, or they're the ones that have the sense of peace and calm and strength and resiliency within the eye of the storm, as it were. You know, look for those qualities, those energetic qualities of safety, of knowing that this person will keep this to themselves and they don't violate trust, you know, etc. Looking for those qualities will point you to the direction of those that you can be safe to go to. And if you're in a situation where you're not feeling like there's someone in your world, of course, we would say here with us is a safe space, you know, Emerge Healing and Wellness, and mine is the healing space. We have our free groups too. Is building that safe space within yourself and journaling, you know, doing that automatic free writing, you know, creating those safe spaces for awareness for yourself first, you know, so that you can build that self-trust. Definitely.
Well, that's what I just wrote to Dawn too, is she was saying it still gets hard to share your story when you don't fully know it, but know it can help others. So that, honestly, the most power that can come from that on your own is writing your story. Narrative work is incredibly healing and incredibly effective for trauma recovery. If things are coming up emotionally, you know, as you're writing your story, if things come up emotionally, pause, tap through it, take some breaths, meditate, whatever it is you need to do to center yourself, and then continue writing. Okay? So, and then you're going to gain a vocabulary about it. You're going to gain the ability to observe your story and to interact with it in a way that is a little bit of a step removed from going around in your head. You wouldn't know how to write it. Okay. So what I would encourage you to do, what I always encourage when people have those blocks with writing, I mean, number one, sinking into your body, which is 3 to 5 really, really deep belly breaths, right? To activate the parasympathetic nervous system and your relaxation response. And to just write, like, what are you feeling in your body? So it's like, okay, I'm just going to write. So it can be a brain dump. It can just be anything that comes to your mind. It could be random words. When I started doing this, I just wrote a bunch of random curse words. They weren't even in like a sentence. They didn't even make sense all put together, but just like starting to write. And when I couldn't find anything, I would take it to my physical body. I'm feeling a little bit of tension in my left hip, and like just describing it, being as descriptive as you can, and tuning into your 5 senses. Because the more you can do that with your writing and you just start to describe, I promise you something will come through.
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I, we love automatic writing for that very reason. And literally it just is no editing. It's literally what word is coming into my awareness. What am I noticing? And I'm writing that down without editing it, without saying, oh, that's stupid, I'm not going to write that down, or, oh, that's dumb, where did that come from? No. Just anything and everything that's coming into my awareness, word-wise or body sensation, etc., just begin to write it. And you will be amazed at what begins to then flow and come forward. And I love, too, the connection, our somatic experience, our body connection is such a key. So many of us live disconnected out of our physical bodies.
Yeah.
And because for a variety of reasons, but the belief that it's unsafe to inhabit our body, or we simply just are fearful of it. If we will just allow ourselves in that moment when an emotion is rising and we're responding, we're reacting, if we would just, like you said, the great stabilizer, hear us on this, the great stabilizer of any mood, of any energetic shift is breath.
Yeah.
Breathing every single time, 3 to 5 belly breaths. If we will pause and give ourselves that gift of breathing, put your hands on your body. Your hands will naturally go where your body is feeling it. If it's in your throat, it will naturally go to your throat, and it will naturally go to your belly, underneath your belly button, if that's where you're feeling it. Okay? So breathe, and your hands will naturally go to where it is. And then you pause and give those areas of your body attention and focus. And if that's all you write on, or if that's what you experience in that moment, allow it. Okay?
Well, and this, my friend, is exactly why I have moved to doing the vast majority of my work in the space of the Akashic Records. Because, as a human, as a therapist, it doesn't matter what your role is, that no matter what comes through in the records, is safe to integrate. They are not going to give you something that is going to set you up for an experience that is not moving you forward on your journey or on your. So that's why I love that space has given me so much confidence and so much confidence. Like, I don't have to be wishy-washy all the time, about like, which way do I go? Like, I'm very decisive because I can go into that space and I know that they're not going to give me something that's unsafe. And I know that when I do work in that space, I am held in safety. I am held in support. And it's amazing how fulfilling that is. And that I didn't feel that, just so you know, when I first started using the record. It took a while for me to practice, practice using that space, adjusting to the vibration of that space before I really feel those benefits. But that's why I think it's like miraculous.
Well, and I'll tell you too, like, again, with my, early contrasting experiences in trauma and that sort of thing, I too, because it's a natural defense mechanism for us to just unhook from our physicality.
Yes.
So when our physicality is being threatened, we just unhinge from it. So we're just up here, or we're off somewhere else, or we're, whatever, right? So I understand. I absolutely have firsthand knowledge, and I know you do as well, of the very real belief and sensation that this is unsafe here.
Yes.
But through intentional practice and focus and mastery, I am now at the point where things hit me. Any emotion or feeling or sensation will always, always, always physically hit us first.
Yeah.
It's the development of the awareness and the connection to that physicality, that physical sensation, where where we need more practice in. But now when that comes up, I notice it quickly and can then attend to it. And being a healer and being attuned to Reiki and all of these other healing modalities, I have a natural tendency to just put my hands there. Just like when, you're a kid and you want your mama to kiss your boo-boo, or we naturally grab our finger if we've cut it, right? Because that's our natural healing tendency to do that. So I will naturally put my hands on my body in that space where it is, and then I listen in. So we understand that there are times when you're early in this process, it can feel threatening. It can feel scary. We get that.
Well, and that's why I started going to therapy for years, because of that.
Yes, same here.
You start with going to therapy that way because it is an opportunity to feel safe and feel like you have like a backup plan or that safety person when you're starting it. But what's beautiful about accessing a coach or a mentor or a therapist is that they're temporary. And as long as you know that they're temporary and that you have hope for yourself and know, like, I'm going to be able to handle this on my own. I really am.
Yes.
Sometimes
it takes feeling safe with another person who can see us as who we really are more clearly than we can see ourselves in those moments. 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have to sign off, my friend. But one of the words I just want to point out to Dawn Larson here, my love, is just the word toxic, because you've used it a couple times. And that's a word that I used it all the time. I used to live in that word, using the word toxic. And I don't really want to say much about it other than I would encourage you to kind of jot down the word toxic, write down the definition that you find in the dictionary, decide whether or not you agree with it, and journal on it. Because labeling any people or background as toxic gives them a level of power that I don't know if you want to offer them.
Yeah.
Yes,
which was what we talked about before, which is why we love the moniker of contrasting experiences rather than labeling it all of these other things that, that typically people do, because it brings up that symbology, which then creates a belief system and creates then behavioral responses that aren't in our best interest and aren't in the best interest of others around us either. Are there people who are very challenging for us? Yes. But when we hold the awareness and the understanding energetically and from a spiritual perspective that they are there for us, for our highest and best, and at a soul level, they are being used in order to align us and connect us and empower us at the soul level, then everything shifts. So that's where then that word then can become something totally different, and you can look at it with grace and love, and you can transmute it like you talked about with all of those higher vibrational, I have chills right now from that, just even saying that, shifting
and I want
awareness.
And I want to truly from my heart thank all of you and honor you for showing up here today and being so honest and interactive and raw with us about what is coming up for you, even being willing to entertain this discussion. I mean, seriously, like this kind of work is very raw and it can be very intense, but it's also ridiculously liberating and freeing. So, there's a contrast in the healing, there's a contrast in the healing process and in this world, but I just feel so full of love and compassion for each of you that are here right now, because you have shown up very authentically and you've brought it and you've been willing to hear this and feel this and just even have it in your energy field and your awareness. So I honor all of you for that. And Raelin, can you let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo that. It is very brave work. We said at the top of the show, this is very sacred ground that we are standing on, sacred space that we hold for all of you, and sacred sharing that you've entered into. And we do really honor that. So thank you for that. It's a blessing for us, and it's an inspiration for us as well. And that then becomes a part of our own healing too. So I want you to know it's a relationship that we enter into for each other, even in this space.
Yeah, and there's a depth to this, just
Yeah.
this exchange and being and here together
Yeah.
in this container, in this space,
Yeah.
that is shifting more than just us, right? It's extending beyond us. That any shifting that isn't just occurring within all of us here.
Right.
That's what's beautiful about
for people watching the replay, for people that share it out, and the countless individuals that we're not aware of right now, but energetically this is seeking them out 100%. Yeah. So my business is called The Healing Space. You can find me on Facebook at The Healing Space CO. And I'll share it in the comments afterwards. And then I also have a free group called Connected Empowerment. Laura's a member of that. I'm a member of Room for Healing as well. We support each other and we collaborate in that space. And, I also have my website, RaelinSaindon.com. And I connect with individuals that are willing to, be raw and that are seeking a more empowered and connected way of healing themselves. And I simply just hold that space for you to take those notices and awareness of. It's not to create dependency, like you said, but it's really for empowerment.
Yeah.
So I would invite you to, join there in that space. Follow me on Healing Space. You can follow my personal page and join in at Connected Empowerment. And if I can help serve you in any way, I would love to do that for you and support you in your healing.
And I am obviously from Emerge Healing and Wellness, which is where this picture is going live. So Emerge Healing and Wellness is my business page on Facebook, but the vast majority of my content is in Room for Healing, which is my free Facebook. So if you guys aren't part of that yet, feel free to send an invite. I will put a link in the comments as well. You can find me on my website, theakashictherapist.com. Again, I will put that in the comments. I have a course starting on April 2nd called Activate, which is, I can't even express, I just finished up the Rise Your Own Wellness Plan, and that was awesome. But the level of energy that is aligned with this next course was downloaded from the Akashic Records. It's including current life regressions, past lives, 6 Akashic Records readings, ancestral clearing and healing, and the activation of our sexual energy, which is really our Kundalini energy, our energy that is tapping into our frequency of wealth, of abundance, of creativity, of energy. And I am feeling so yummy about this. And I've felt it, but it just keeps growing and growing. And it's a message that's been consistently coming through the records for a while. So I will put that link in the comments too, if you guys want to check that out. It would be an awesome way to work together and to really access some of this deeper level of healing. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us today, either live or on the replay. We are appreciative of you all. We honor you all for listening and doing this work. And we hope you have an amazing Thursday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.